Hollywood is a place built on image and destroyed by truth. Some stars fall from grace because of scandals that shock the world. Others lose the public long before the headlines. Undone by arrogance, misbehavior, or reputations, they can never escape. In this third chapter of our investigation into the most hated stars in Hollywood history, we pull back the final layer to reveal the figures whose names still spark anger, disbelief, and fierce debate across the United States. But how did these celebrities many once admired, celebrated, even loved, become symbols of everything audiences reject? And which name on this list will surprise you the most? Stay until the end. The deeper we go, the darker it gets. 15. Chris Brown. Chris Brown entered American pop culture as a prodigy, blending smooth vocals, striking dance ability, with undeniable star presence. His early career positioned him as the next major force in R&B, earning praise for his talent and comparisons to legendary performers. For a time, he was one of the most promising young figures in mainstream music, embraced by a wide audience and supported by the industry's most influential producers. Everything changed when a violent assault involving a fellow superstar became public. The incident triggered a national debate about abuse, accountability, and the responsibility of high-profile artists. Images, police reports, survivor testimonies spread rapidly across American media. Overnight, the narrative surrounding Brown shifted from rising star to controversial figure. Although he served legal consequences and sought rehabilitation programs, the event permanently altered how millions of people viewed him. In the years that followed, additional conflicts, public outbursts, and legal disputes reinforced the perception that Brown was volatile and combative. His altercations with paparazzi, tense exchanges with fellow artists, accusations of aggressive behavior added fuel to an already polarizing public image. Despite maintaining commercial success, his reputation within the United States remained deeply fractured. Hollywood and the broader entertainment industry responded cautiously. Some collaborators continued supporting his music, emphasizing redemption and artistic evolution. Others distanced themselves, unwilling to be associated with his public history. The division reflected a larger cultural conversation about talent, forgiveness, but the limits of second chances. For the American public, Brown became a symbol of long-running debate. Can an artist regain respect after severe wrongdoing, or does certain behavior leave an irreversible mark? Social platforms continually reignited arguments, with his name frequently appearing in discussions about the most disliked and controversial figures in entertainment. His legacy became tied not only to his musical achievements, but also to the violent act that reshaped his entire career. Chris Brown's place among the most hated Hollywood stars stems from this enduring contradiction, a performer of extraordinary ability shadowed by deeply troubling actions. His story illustrates how fame can magnify both talent and failure, and how the public memory of wrongdoing can outlast even the strongest chart success. 14. Armie Hammer. Armie Hammer entered Hollywood with the image of a polished, charismatic leading man. His breakout performance as the Winklevoss twins in a major tech drama film showcased both his range and screen presence, earning him widespread attention from American audiences. Over the next several years, he appeared in acclaimed indie projects and big-budget studio productions, positioning himself as a reliable actor with the potential for long-term stardom. For a while, he embodied the ideal of the modern Hollywood gentleman: tall, composed, and effortlessly appealing on screen. The turning point came when disturbing allegations surfaced online, including leaked messages containing violent fantasies and claims of sexual misconduct. These accusations spread rapidly through social media, where they were dissected, debated, and amplified by thousands of users. Although Hammer denied criminal wrongdoing, the allegations prompted widespread concern, shock, and disgust. The narrative grew darker when several women publicly described interactions they found manipulative or coercive, pushing the controversy into national headlines. Hollywood reacted swiftly. Major agencies severed ties, and multiple film projects either recast his roles or halted production entirely. Industry insiders expressed alarm at the nature of the allegations, and the sudden collapse of his career became one of the most dramatic Hollywood implosions in recent memory. The sharp contrast between his polished public persona and the disturbing claims intensified the backlash, making him a central figure in discussions about power, consent, and celebrity entitlement. The American public response was decisive. Online communities circulated the allegations at extraordinary speed, turning Hammer into the subject of widespread criticism and fascination. Memes, documentaries, investigative reports added layers of public scrutiny, cementing his position as one of the most hated Hollywood stars of the decade. Even as legal outcomes remained complex, the cultural verdict had already formed in the minds of many viewers. In the aftermath, Hammer stepped back from acting, relocated away from Los Angeles, and attempted to rebuild his personal life. Yet the shadow of the controversy remains, defining his legacy more than any film or performance. His story serves as a stark example of how quickly a rising Hollywood career can collapse when allegations hit the public sphere, and how modern media can transform private behavior into a global scandal. 13. Justin Bieber. Justin Bieber rose from an online sensation to one of the most recognizable pop figures in the world. His early career shaped an entire generation of young American listeners, and his rapid ascent made him an international superstar before adulthood. With a clean image, strong vocals, and a loyal fan base, he seemed destined for a long, glittering career defined by chart success and crossover appeal. For a time, he appeared untouchable, a golden figure of modern pop culture. But as fame intensified, so did controversy. A series of public incidents, confrontations with paparazzi, reckless driving accusations, altercations captured on cell phone videos began eroding his wholesome image. American media outlets chronicled each misstep relentlessly, framing him as a young celebrity spiraling under pressure. His behavior became a talking point on news programs, late-night shows, and online forums, turning him into a symbol of youthful excess and celebrity entitlement. The backlash deepened when footage surfaced of him using offensive language as a teenager, sparking national criticism. Although he apologized, the resurfaced clips ignited debates about accountability, maturity, the impact of early fame. Concert cancellations, reported conflicts with neighbors, and stories of unprofessional conduct added fuel to public frustration, prompting many to view him less as a talented young artist and more as a troubled figure struggling with self-control. Hollywood and the music industry faced a dilemma. Bieber remained a massive commercial force, yet his reputation was increasingly polarized. While his fan base defended him passionately, critics argued he embodied the worst aspects of celebrity culture. Tabloids portrayed him as unpredictable. Influencers mocked his behavior. The social media memes further shaped his public image. His name became a fixture in conversations about the most hated Hollywood stars, especially during the height of his controversies. In later years, Bieber addressed his past openly, speaking about mental health, fame's psychological impact, attempts to rebuild his life. He pursued a more mature artistic direction and focused on stability, earning cautious respect from some who had once criticized him. Yet his legacy remains split, a blend of immense success and a turbulent public history. Justin Bieber's story encapsulates how early stardom, intense scrutiny, personal struggles can combine to create one of the most dramatic reputation swings in modern American pop culture. 12. Lindsay Lohan. Lindsay Lohan began her career as one of the brightest young talents in Hollywood. Her early performances in family comedies and teen dramas showcased a natural charisma and comedic instinct that made her an instant favorite among American audiences. For a period, she embodied the ideal transition from child star to mainstream actress, winning praise from critics and commanding strong box office appeal. Her future appeared limitless, with studios viewing her as a long-term investment and a potential fixture of early 21st century cinema. That promising trajectory unraveled when a series of personal struggles entered the public eye. Multiple arrests, DUI charges, repeated trips to rehabilitation facilities created a highly publicized cycle of legal issues and addiction battles. Tabloids documented every court appearance and every setback, often with sensationalist headlines that overshadowed her professional accomplishments. Production delays, on-set challenges, insurance concerns made her increasingly difficult to cast, and Hollywood studios began to distance themselves. The American public reaction was sharp and complicated. Some criticized her behavior, portraying her as irresponsible or self-destructive. Others expressed sympathy, seeing her as a young woman overwhelmed by fame, pressure, addiction. Nevertheless, the constant media exposure turned her into a symbol of the darker side of child stardom. Entertainment programs, late-night hosts, and online communities referenced her struggles as shorthand for Hollywood decline, pushing her into the category of the most hated Hollywood stars during the height of her controversies. Hollywood's response reflected the industry's unforgiving expectations. Projects were canceled, studios demanded strict behavioral contracts, but directors hesitated to hire her due to fears of production risks. Even when she delivered strong performances, the surrounding noise of her personal life drowned out the work itself. Over time, her once glittering image faded into a narrative defined by instability. In later years, Lohan attempted to rebuild her life and career, moving abroad, opening new business ventures, but returning occasionally to film and television. Although the public perception has softened somewhat, the scars of her earlier controversies remain deeply embedded in American cultural memory. Lindsay Lohan's story illustrates the brutal consequences of early fame, relentless media scrutiny, personal turmoil. Her fall from Hollywood's promising young star to one of the industry's most polarizing figures remains one of the most widely discussed transformations in modern entertainment history. 11. James Franco. James Franco built a reputation as one of Hollywood's most eclectic talents. With performances ranging from emotional dramas to offbeat comedies, he became known for his unpredictable creative choices and his willingness to experiment across film, television, literature, academia. For a time, he was viewed as a modern Renaissance figure, an actor, director, writer, and teacher who seemed endlessly curious and unusually versatile. American audiences admired his intensity, his artistic risk-taking, his seemingly unstoppable career momentum. That public image changed dramatically when multiple allegations of inappropriate sexual behavior surfaced. Former students and colleagues from his acting schools described uncomfortable situations, unprofessional conduct, dynamics they felt were exploitative. These accounts triggered immediate national attention, prompting intense discussions about power imbalances, boundaries, accountability within creative institutions. Although Franco denied the most serious claims, the volume and consistency of the accounts made the controversy impossible to ignore. Hollywood responded quickly. Professional relationships were paused or severed. Industry organizations issued statements, ongoing projects quietly dissolved. The scandal overshadowed years of artistic work and collaborations. Franco, once welcomed across film festivals and award circuits, became a figure of scrutiny, raising questions about how institutions handle misconduct allegations against celebrated artists. His name, once associated with creative ambition, now appeared in headlines focused solely on accusations and fallout. The American public reaction was equally powerful. Online communities debated his behavior extensively, with many viewing him as emblematic of the broader issues exposed by the era's cultural reckoning. Supporters argued he was being judged prematurely, while critics insisted the allegations reflected long-standing patterns. The backlash placed Franco squarely among the most hated Hollywood stars, not because of a single incident, but because the conflict between his public persona and the accusations created a sense of betrayal among viewers who once admired him. In the aftermath, Franco stepped away from the spotlight, citing the need for personal reflection and growth. He pursued counseling and addressed the controversy in limited interviews, though public skepticism remained strong. His legacy is now profoundly altered, a blend of artistic achievement and controversy, talent and turmoil. James Franco's fall illustrates how quickly admiration can collapse when allegations challenge the foundations of a star's public identity, and how the American cultural landscape no longer allows fame to shield behavior that crosses moral boundaries. 10. Alec Baldwin. Alec Baldwin has long been one of the most recognizable actors in American entertainment. His early work in dramatic films, his celebrated stage performances, and his later success in television comedy established him as a versatile, charismatic, and frequently praised talent. For decades, he moved easily between prestige projects and mainstream hits, becoming a familiar presence in both Hollywood and New York cultural circles. His sharp wit and commanding voice made him a favorite in late-night sketches, political parodies, and award show appearances. Yet Baldwin's public reputation has always been shadowed by controversy. For many years, stories circulated about his temper confrontations with paparazzi, aggressive exchanges in public spaces, and highly publicized disputes involving neighbors and photographers. Audio of a heated phone call with his daughter further complicated his public image, sparking national discussion about parenting and emotional behavior. These incidents, though varied in tone and severity, collectively contributed to a perception of volatility that followed him throughout his career. The most dramatic shift came after a tragic on-set shooting during the production of a Western film in which a cinematographer was killed and a director injured. The incident dominated American media for months. Legal debates, moral questions, and industry-wide conversations about safety reshaped Baldwin's public image once again. While investigations focused on multiple parties and systemic failures, many viewers directed their anger at Baldwin, both as an actor and as a producer. For a significant segment of the public, he became the focal point of blame, regardless of ongoing legal developments. Hollywood's response was intense and divided. Some industry professionals defended him, citing procedural failures beyond any single person's control. Others criticized his handling of the aftermath, including interviews that some felt appeared defensive or poorly timed. The tragedy magnified all previous controversies, merging long-standing concerns about his temper with newly fueled outrage over safety, accountability, and responsibility. The American public reaction grew polarized. Supporters viewed him as a seasoned professional caught in a devastating accident. Critics saw a pattern of behavior, anger, conflict, and defensiveness that made forgiveness difficult. The cumulative effect placed Baldwin firmly among the most hated Hollywood stars, as his name became entangled in cultural debates about celebrity power, gun safety, and moral responsibility. Today, Alec Baldwin's legacy remains in a state of unresolved tension. A talented performer whose career is overshadowed by one of the most tragic and contentious events in modern Hollywood history. 9. Kanye West. Kanye West began his rise as one of the most influential forces in modern American music. His early production work reshaped the sound of hip-hop, and his debut albums were hailed as groundbreaking. He blended emotional honesty, innovative sampling, and sharp cultural commentary, earning widespread acclaim as both a producer and performer. For many years, he stood at the center of American pop culture, celebrated as a visionary, a trendsetter, and an artist unafraid to challenge expectations. But West's public narrative gradually shifted as a series of controversies began to overshadow his artistic achievements. His outburst during a major music awards ceremony, where he interrupted a young pop star's acceptance speech, marked a turning point in his relationship with the American public. What some viewed as passion, many others interpreted as arrogance. Further incidents, public feuds, explosive social media rants, and erratic interviews fueled a perception of instability. The backlash intensified when West made deeply offensive political and social statements, including comments widely condemned across the United States. His remarks triggered immediate outrage, prompting organizations, celebrities, and fans to distance themselves. The situation escalated when he repeated rhetoric associated with hateful ideologies, leading major companies to sever professional ties. The American public responded strongly, with many expressing shock that an artist once praised for his insight had embraced ideas that caused real harm. Hollywood and the music industry faced a complex dilemma. West remained an influential figure whose artistic legacy had helped shape an entire generation, yet his statements alienated audiences and collaborators at an unprecedented scale. Fashion brands ended partnerships, media outlets denounced his rhetoric, but cultural commentators examined how fame, ego, and mental health intertwined in his downfall. Online, his name became central in debates about accountability, free speech, and the responsibilities of public figures. Memes, commentary channels, and cultural analysts portrayed him as both a tragic, cautionary tale and a deeply polarizing force. Over time, he became one of the most hated Hollywood stars, not because of a single scandal, but due to a long accumulation of controversies that transformed admiration into disillusionment. Today, Kanye West remains a figure defined by contradiction, a visionary artist whose creative brilliance is inseparable from a pattern of statements and behavior that alienated large segments of the American public. His story shows how quickly influence can erode when a cultural icon steps beyond the boundaries of public tolerance. 8. Johnny Depp. Johnny Depp spent decades as one of Hollywood's most beloved and unconventional leading men. His collaborations with visionary directors, his eccentric character choices, but his ability to disappear into roles earned him a devoted global fan base. For many years, he symbolized the kind of fearless artistry American audiences admired: unpredictable, stylish, but unmistakably original. His performances in major franchises transformed him into a cultural icon whose fame extended far beyond film. But admiration slowly gave way to controversy, as his personal life became the center of an intense, years-long public battle. Accusations of domestic violence, counter-accusations, leaked recordings, and legal disputes created a polarized national conversation. The situation escalated when a major British newspaper labeled him a domestic abuser, leading to a libel trial that captured worldwide attention. Although the ruling went against him, the public debate only grew more divided. The conflict reached another peak during a televised defamation trial in the United States, where both Depp and his former spouse presented disturbing accounts of their relationship. Millions watched each moment unfold in real time, turning the courtroom into a cultural spectacle. Memes, reaction streams, and social media commentary flooded the internet, often reducing complex issues to entertainment. While a large number of Americans sided with Depp, others viewed the broader situation as troubling and questioned the motivations behind the public support. Hollywood's reaction was equally conflicted. Some studios distanced themselves from him, citing reputational concerns, while others quietly expressed interest in his return. Directors, actors, and critics debated whether he had been unfairly judged or whether the controversies overshadowed his artistic merit. Even after the American verdict favored him, lingering divisions remained, with supporters seeking vindication and critics arguing that the trial did not erase all concerns. For a significant portion of the American public, Johnny Depp became a deeply polarizing figure, admired by some, condemned by others, and discussed by everyone. His name frequently appears in debates about the most hated Hollywood stars, not simply because of the allegations, but because his story became a battlefield for broader cultural tensions surrounding abuse, celebrity power, and the line between public truth and private chaos. Today, Depp remains an artist attempting to rebuild his career while navigating a legacy permanently shaped by one of the most public and contentious disputes In modern Hollywood history. 7. Charlie Sheen. Charlie Sheen was once one of the most highly paid and widely recognized actors on American television. His sharp comedic timing, charismatic delivery, the long career in both film and sitcoms helped cement his status as a dependable star. For many years, he represented a certain type of Hollywood success: effortless charm, effortless humor, and an image built on rebellious cool. His role in a massively popular sitcom elevated him to the peak of mainstream fame, making him a household name across the United States. But behind the polished on-screen persona, Sheen's personal life had long been turbulent. Substance abuse struggles, legal entanglements, the allegations of violence created a pattern of instability that gradually overshadowed his professional achievements. Tabloids closely monitored his behavior, capturing late-night altercations, inconsistent public appearances, but reports of erratic conduct. Though scandals occasionally faded, they never disappeared entirely, fueling a growing sense among the public that Sheen was spiraling. The turning point came when his conflicts with the creator of his hit sitcom exploded publicly. Furious interviews, bizarre catchphrases, and defiant media appearances dominated headlines. Sheen presented himself as triumphant and invincible, yet many viewers saw the behavior as alarming. When he was dismissed from the show, it became one of the most dramatic and highly publicized departures in television history. The fallout included lawsuits, studio statements, a national media frenzy. Hollywood reacted with a mixture of concern and distance. While some collaborators expressed sympathy for his struggles, others emphasized the difficulty of working with him during periods of instability. Insurance concerns, unpredictable behavior, the public volatility made him a risk in major productions. His once bankable star power dimmed as studios grew hesitant to associate with the chaos surrounding his name. The American public response was equally intense. Some found his unfiltered persona darkly entertaining, while many others viewed it as troubling or destructive. His media appearances became cultural moments, symbols of downfall, addiction, but the darker side of celebrity excess. His name frequently appears among the most hated Hollywood stars, not simply due to scandal, but because his decline unfolded so publicly that it became part of national pop culture. Today, Charlie Sheen remains a figure defined by contradiction, a once beloved actor whose fame collided with self-destruction, leaving behind a complicated legacy of brilliance, volatility, the cautionary lessons about the costs of unchecked celebrity life. 6. Sean Penn. Sean Penn has long been regarded as one of the most talented and intense actors of his generation. His performances in socially charged dramas, his early breakout roles, while his later work as a director earned him admiration across the American film community. For years, he was known not only for his artistic depth but also for his political activism and humanitarian involvement. His public image blended intellectual seriousness with a rebellious, uncompromising persona. Yet Penn's career has always existed alongside an undercurrent of controversy. Stories about his temper date back to his rise in the 80s, including widely publicized confrontations with paparazzi. His reputation for volatility became part of Hollywood lore, reinforced by court cases involving physical altercations and aggressive incidents. Even as he matured artistically, the shadow of that early volatility continued to follow him. The backlash intensified when Penn's outspoken political commentary drew polarized reactions across the United States. His criticism of government policies, international diplomacy, the media behavior made him a frequent target of cable news debates and online firestorms. Many admired his passion, many others found him combative, self-righteous, or unnecessarily provocative. His high-profile meetings with controversial foreign leaders only deepened the division, prompting questions about judgment, credibility, and intention. Hollywood's relationship with Penn reflects this complexity. Directors praise his talent, calling him one of the finest actors of his era, but industry insiders also acknowledge that his temperament and public controversies have made him an unpredictable presence. His strong views and confrontational communication style contributed to an image that sometimes overshadowed his remarkable craft. Among the American public, Penn's name regularly appears in conversations about the most hated Hollywood stars. Some view him as a brilliant performer, undone by arrogance and volatility. Others believe he represents a type of celebrity activism that feels disconnected from ordinary people. His media appearances often reignite old criticisms, transforming even well-intentioned statements into new rounds of backlash. Sean Penn's legacy is a portrait of contradiction, an artist of extraordinary talent whose forceful personality, public battles, the uncompromising approach to activism have made him one of the most polarizing figures in modern pop culture. His story illustrates how fame amplifies both excellence and conflict, often leaving audiences divided long after the performance ends. 5. Rosie O'Donnell. Rosie O'Donnell rose to national fame as a stand-up comedian before becoming a household name through her daytime talk show. Warm, energetic, outspoken, she quickly gained a large American audience that embraced her as an approachable, funny, and deeply human personality. For a period, she was one of the most recognizable figures on daytime television, known for celebrity interviews, heartfelt segments, a candid style that stood out in a polished media environment. Her public image began to shift as she became increasingly vocal about political issues. O'Donnell's confrontations with major political figures, especially her prolonged feud with a future president, turned her into a lightning rod for partisan hostility. Supporters praised her for protecting marginalized communities and speaking boldly about injustice. Critics accused her of being abrasive, inflammatory, but overly combative. The national divide surrounding her views made her one of the most polarizing personalities in mainstream media. The tension escalated when she joined a high-profile talk show known for its intense political debate. Her clashes with co-hosts, particularly on topics like war, foreign policy, but constitutional rights, dominated American headlines. Viewers saw explosive on-air arguments that blurred the line between spirited discussion and personal animosity. Behind the scenes, reports of conflict and emotional strain circulated widely, leading to her abrupt departure and reinforcing her volatile public image. Hollywood's response mirrored the public divide. Some admired her commitment to advocacy and authenticity. Others viewed her as difficult to work with due to her intensity and refusal to compromise. The more she leaned into political activism, the more her entertainment career receded into the background, replaced by a public persona defined by confrontation and controversy. Online, Rosie O'Donnell's name remains closely associated with intense cultural debates. She is regularly cited among the most hated Hollywood stars, especially in discussions shaped by political identity, media polarization, but public fatigue with celebrity activism. Memes, commentary channels, political influencers continue to use her name as shorthand for Hollywood divisiveness. Despite the hostility, O'Donnell has maintained a loyal community of supporters and continues speaking out on issues she believes in. Her legacy is a complex one, a television pioneer whose fame was transformed and in some ways consumed by the political forces of modern America. 4. Kevin Spacey. Kevin Spacey was once regarded as one of the finest actors of his generation. His performances in psychological thrillers, intricate character studies, ensemble dramas earned him widespread acclaim across the United States. For many years, he embodied the image of a disciplined, intelligent performer who brought a rare level of sophistication to every role. His success extended beyond film, with a celebrated tenure leading a major streaming series that helped define the golden age of digital television. His career collapsed almost instantly when multiple allegations of sexual misconduct surfaced, beginning with a widely publicized accusation from a fellow actor. As additional claims emerged, American media outlets chronicled each new development, painting a disturbing picture of repeated boundary violations. The speed and scale of the backlash made Spacey one of the central figures in a larger cultural reckoning surrounding abuse of power in the entertainment industry. Hollywood responded decisively. Spacey was removed from ongoing productions, edited out of a major film release, dismissed from his acclaimed streaming series. Studios, networks, and collaborators distanced themselves publicly, citing moral, ethical, professional concerns. Projects that had been greenlit were immediately cancelled. The industry's rapid severing of ties became symbolic of a broader shift in accountability, marking a dramatic reversal for an actor previously seen as untouchable. The American public reaction was equally intense. Audiences who once admired his versatility and brilliance expressed shock, disappointment, outrage. Online communities debated the allegations, but the dominant narrative portrayed Spacey as a figure whose behavior reflected deeper systemic failures. Even after some legal cases were dismissed or resolved, the cultural damage remained irreversible. For many, his name came to represent the darker realities of Hollywood's power structures. In the years that followed, Spacey attempted limited returns through social media videos and independent projects, but the efforts were largely met with criticism or indifference. His legacy is now defined not by his award-winning performances, but by the gravity of the allegations that dismantled his career. His name regularly appears in discussions of the most hated Hollywood stars, symbolizing the fall of a once-respected figure whose actions forced the industry and its audience to confront uncomfortable truths. 3. Woody Allen. Woody Allen built a reputation as one of the most influential filmmakers in American cinema. Over several decades, he crafted comedies, dramas, character-driven stories that earned critical acclaim and a loyal international audience. His unique narrative voice, neurotic, intellectual, and deeply rooted in New York culture, made him a defining figure of late 20th century filmmaking. To many cinephiles, he represented artistic independence, creative consistency, a bold willingness to explore the complexities of human relationships. But Allen's public image underwent a profound transformation when long-standing allegations of sexual abuse resurfaced. Although he was never criminally charged and has always denied wrongdoing, the accusations, particularly those involving a family member, became central to a national conversation about power, credibility, the ethics of separating art from artist. As American culture shifted toward greater attention on survivor accounts, his name once again re-entered mainstream debate with renewed intensity. Hollywood reacted sharply. Some actors publicly regretted working with him, donating salaries from his films to charities supporting survivors. Several studios severed ties, halting distribution deals and shelving projects. The film industry that had once embraced him with awards, retrospectives, consistent support now distanced itself, reflecting the broader cultural demand for accountability. The American public response was equally divided, but increasingly critical. Supporters argued that decades of investigations and legal proceedings had found no charges. Critics countered that institutional failures, family history, the broader pattern of allegations raised serious moral questions. Documentary releases, interviews, social media campaigns reignited controversy, making Allen one of the most debated figures in modern entertainment. His reputation, once grounded in artistic prestige, became dominated by suspicion, hostility, unresolved moral debate. In recent years, Allen has continued creating films, though with diminished budgets and reduced distribution in the United States. Many viewers no longer separate his art from the allegations, and he is frequently listed among the most hated Hollywood stars, not because of proven crimes, but because his story symbolizes one of the most complicated and emotionally charged ethical dilemmas in American culture. Woody Allen's legacy now stands at a crossroads, a celebrated filmmaker whose body of work is overshadowed by enduring controversy, reminding audiences that in Hollywood, moral perception can redefine a lifetime of artistic achievement. 2. Bill Maher. Bill Maher built his reputation as one of the most outspoken and provocative commentators in American entertainment. Rising from the stand-up comedy circuit to hosting politically charged television programs, he became known for his sharp wit, blunt delivery, the willingness to challenge cultural norms. His style, part satire, part debate, part confrontation, attracted viewers who appreciated unfiltered conversation in a media landscape full of caution. For many years, Maher symbolized a uniquely American blend of comedy and political commentary, earning both praise and intense criticism. But Maher's brand of honesty often blurred into controversy. His comments on religion, race, terrorism, and political movements sparked repeated public uproar. Critics accused him of being dismissive, insensitive, or intentionally inflammatory. Supporters defended his right to provoke, claiming that uncomfortable ideas were essential to comedy. Yet each new episode sparked fresh debate, and a growing segment of the American public viewed him as a provocateur who crossed lines more frequently than he pushed boundaries responsibly. One of the most damaging moments came when he used a racially charged phrase during a live broadcast. The backlash was immediate and widespread, with politicians, activists, and fellow entertainers condemning the remark. Though he apologized, the incident deepened perceptions that his commentary often lacked awareness of the harm it could cause. Even longtime fans grew divided, questioning whether his commitment to free speech overshadowed empathy or accountability. Hollywood's response has always been complicated. Maher continues to attract high-profile guests, yet many decline invitations due to his reputation. Studios and networks recognize his ability to generate attention, but remain cautious of the controversies that follow him. His career endures, but with the constant threat of backlash shaping every episode and public statement. Among the American public, Maher's name consistently appears in conversations about the most hated Hollywood stars. Some view him as a cultural critic whose bluntness exposes uncomfortable truths. Others see him as a symbol of elitism, provocation for its own sake, or commentary that harms rather than enlightens. Social media reactions to his monologues often turn into full-scale cultural debates, magnifying the divide. Bill Maher remains one of the most polarizing figures in modern entertainment. A performer whose influence is undeniable, but whose tendency to ignite controversy has made him a lightning rod in a deeply fragmented American culture. 1. Roman Polanski. Roman Polanski has long been recognized as one of the most stylistically distinctive filmmakers of the late 20th century. His early works, shaped by a traumatic childhood and a sharp psychological insight, earned him international acclaim. Films exploring paranoia, isolation, and moral ambiguity established him as a director with a unique cinematic voice. For many years, he occupied a revered position in American and European film culture, celebrated for his artistry and contributions to modern storytelling. But Polanski's legacy became inseparable from the serious criminal case that led him to flee the United States. Accused of unlawful sexual conduct involving a minor, he accepted a plea agreement and later left the country before sentencing. His departure turned the case into one of the most infamous and enduring scandals in Hollywood history. The legal battle continued across decades, with extradition attempts, international disputes, and ongoing public outrage shaping the narrative. Hollywood's reaction has always been divided and deeply contentious. Some prominent filmmakers defended him, arguing that his artistic achievements should be considered separately from his legal situation. Others condemned the idea of supporting a figure who evaded justice. Award ceremonies that honored him sparked protests, boycotts, and heated public debate. His case became a symbol of the industry's long struggle with accountability, power imbalances, and the treatment of survivors. The American public response has been overwhelmingly negative. Polanski's name frequently appears in discussions about abuse, corruption, and the failures of Hollywood's past. His continued ability to work abroad, win awards, and receive support from certain artistic communities intensified the perception that he represented the darker side of celebrity privilege. For many, he stands among the most hated Hollywood stars, not only because of the crime itself, but because he avoided facing the full consequences in the United States. Polanski's story is one of profound contradiction. An artist whose contributions to cinema are undeniable, yet whose personal actions have rendered him a permanent outcast in American culture. His legacy remains a reminder that creative brilliance cannot erase moral responsibility, and that some scandals mark a dividing line from which public acceptance never returns. In Hollywood, reputations fall faster than careers rise. The stories in this chapter reveal how talent, power, fame can crumble under the weight of truth, controversy, or a single irreversible mistake. If you want to explore how these patterns began, the links to the previous chapters are waiting in the description. Subscribe to Tick Tick for more documentary countdowns, deeper investigations, by the hidden stories Hollywood tries to forget. The next chapter is already on its way,